All right, according to this thing, we are now live. Welcome, people. This is a random debate between Plain Trotter and Big Mike. Thank you both for being here to have this discussion. My job is just to make sure that this doesn't devolve into a cataclysmic shit show. Also, if it sounds like I'm speaking to you from inside of a tin can's asshole, that's because I am speaking on my laptop. I am traveling, and so my audio may not be as good. But I'm not involved in this conversation, so it doesn't matter. Plain Trotter,
Wait,
would
it's
you
echoing
please
on my
introduce
end.
yourself?
I can hear like two times what you're saying.
You got to mute the audio on the live stream, dude. I would just click off the live stream if you're hearing double. We are off to a fantastic start.
What do you mean clicking off the live stream?
Oh god. The audio is going to come through both the call and the live stream. You can't have both playing at the same time.
If you have YouTube open, close it. Just have the StreamYards open.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I see. That was a choke. All right. So
All right. Anyway, Plain Trotter, please introduce yourself.
hello everyone. My name is my username is Plain Trotter. Just here to talk about the shape of the Earth. Hopefully from evidence-based point of view, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Big Mike, introduce yourself, please.
Yes, I'm commonly known as Aerospace Big Mike on Twitter. Basically, I'm just an aerospace journalist and, someone who's been going around trying to, record and, follow and rocket launches and events going on the Space Coast and, just exploring and utilizing my experience, working on aircraft and whatnot to understand the world around us.
Cool. All right, so Big Mike, I am going to ask the first question, and that should start us off. What brings you both here?
Twitter post where Plain Trotter was doubting on the ISS as usual. A very common trait we see on Twitter, and I just followed up with a post of tracking that me and myself in Astronomy Life have captured a few years ago, and that's where it started.
Cool. All right, Plain Trotter, why are we here today?
Yeah, basically, I like debating. This is the first debate that I actually land against, Globis. Still love you guys. I do have to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and I'm open to debate. Now, I mean, should I start like just making points, or you're gonna like ask a question for that?
I guess since the space station was brought up, let me just start off this question. Then, Big Mike, you take over from here. What is your problem with the International Space Station, or do you have a problem with the International Space Station?
Okay, so with the ISS, okay, first of all, let me say something real quick. I am not claiming that I have all the answers, right? So obviously, I was basically taught the same things you guys were my whole life. And a few years ago, I started like just, you know, let's say forgetting everything that I've ever been taught and just using my own eyes, my own ears, my own senses, then logic, observation, what they claim versus what I see, and things like that. And I started questioning. So just because I realized, like, okay, this model that they're presenting to me makes no sense, that doesn't mean that I automatically have all the other answers, as if I have like a PhD in like true physics, let's just say, for lack of a better expression, right? So when it comes to the ISS specifically, that's first of all, that's like a small, um, like if we're talking about the shape of the Earth and whether we are inside of a dome in a firmament or there's like an ever expanding universe, to use whether the ISS is floating or orbiting as the proof for that is, that would be like a side quest or like a bonus point. That wouldn't be my main argument. So my main argument wouldn't be, oh, the Earth is flat because the ISS floats. It doesn't. That'll be, like for me, a globe trying to use, and I just sorry about the term globe, but it just speed it up. A globe trying to use the ISS as proof of outer space and stuff like that is kind of like me saying, "Oh, magic is real because look at this Las Vegas magic show," right? So, I mean, yes, if you have like a controlled scenario and you control the variables and all this stuff, you can make something appear what it's not. But you can't, like that's just like a little trick that the Matrix can, smoke and mirrors. That's what it is. It's smoke and mirrors. So whether they're actually shooting it, and making it go fast, or it's floating or whatever, I haven't studied it, but I wouldn't hinge my whole worldview on whether it goes 17,000 miles per hour or floats. Something. Okay, hold on. So I already addressed the question. I want to move on unless there's like comments about it.
My just a real quick thing is just to clear up, since you did, you said that the only real video in that clip I sent of the Google Loon compared to the ISS, you said the only one was the balloon. So
No,
just to
I didn't say that.
clarify,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
was the
yeah.
triangularized footage real or not? Let's just clear that
Wait,
up.
so you were the one posting that video? Okay,
It
great.
was two. It was two side by side.
Yeah, so you posted like 4 different sources. 3 were like pictures, and one had like 2 videos, one next to each other. So I saw the 3 pictures, and then on the 4th, I only saw the right because the other one's so fast. Like I didn't really like uh pay attention to it. And I even explained there, like, hey, I missed that one. So I when I said the very first time I said the only real video, the only real proof or whatever I said is that one, is because I missed the other. Again, you put 4 sources, I saw 3, they were pictures or diagrams or whatever, and then the other one, it was like split in 2, and I only like processed half. So I never claimed your video to be fake. You kept spamming that over and over, and again, that like split into so many like sub threads that I'm sure you might have missed it when I clarify, like, hey, I missed that one, but I never called your thing fake. And if I recall correctly, I don't think I ever said, oh, that's CGI, that's fake. And some of y'all were like teaming up saying that I was using those words. I wasn't. But look, now I like to talk more about like the root of logic of things. So, say if Big Mike doesn't want to set the topic, which I'm willing to go his route as well. I'll say I will find our point of disagreement from the beginning, right? So, Big Mike, are you a Christian? And I'm not gonna make this into a religious thing, but I just want to see where you're at. Are you a Christian?
Yes, I was raised Christian, and I also went to a Christian academy, through middle school and high school. So I've
All right,
been
just real
surrounded
quick,
by it my entire life.
and what's the way to heaven?
Well, it depends on your denomination. That's the problem. Is I was taught denominational is that there are different, the
But according
exact
to you,
conditions vary. Um, my perspective is just accepting Jesus Christ, but again, Christianity is one of those really fickle things where it's different for every person, every translation. So I don't hold that as like any sort of objective position. It's entirely arbitrary and entirely subjective.
all right, so that's a soft answer, but I think it was still the correct one. So now, do you think that the Bible is literal?
No, especially not the Old Testament. The Old Testament, when you look at the history, was largely written to be illustrative in large works of tales. Not to say that it was written to be fiction, but that it was written to convey a story or some sort of a idea or concept, not written literally. Especially when you look at things like Genesis. The book of Genesis is quite literally plagiarized. You cannot treat it as original text because it is plagiarized from the Enuma Elish. I think that was like 1,000 years prior to the first iteration of Genesis even being written. So, again, literal can't really be applied when we already have historical evidence of plagiarism on its part. Not saying that it's, evil or bad for that, but you can't also ignore it. And it's not even like the Enuma Elish is the one exception. it also takes from the Egyptian Book of the Dead as well. So, there are quite a bit of concepts it picked up and borrowed from.
Okay, so do you agree that the Bible says that the Earth is flat?
Again, it's not, you can't treat it as literal, and even if you did,
But
these
does
are,
it say
it's
that?
being,
Whether it's literal or not, does it say that?
it says that it's flat, but there are also sections in, passages that describe it as round, as a circle,
Yeah, a
suspended in
circle is not a
nothingness.
sphere. So you could have a circle is still a flat two-dimensional surface. If somebody asked you to find the area of a circle, you wouldn't pull up with a surface area of a sphere, right?
Again, this is all subjective, especially given the fact that Hebrew is not exactly a scientific translation into today's wordage. So I prefer not to run down the long road of
Okay, but
Bible
yeah,
this,
no, I
Bible
understand.
that.
Like again, I just wanted to establish. So you're basically making the argument against the literal interpretation of the Bible, because there's people that they don't even know that the Bible says the Earth is flat or implies to it, alludes to it many different times. So at least we're on the same page there, right? So now, if you want me to build off from that, I would say that you believe in Jesus. I do too, right? The Bible makes this claim, and if you want to make a claim against that, you know, I mean, if I don't want to completely write it off, then I would need some like really big evidence, right? And when you're looking at the scientific method, if just everybody forget about everything they've told you for a second and everything everything you've seen, just the scientific method. Do we agree that all knowledge of science should be acquired through the scientific method? Do we agree there?
Though the scientific method is a good concept, the problem is it is not applicable everywhere. Some things require a measurement, some things require an observation, some things require, setups and testing methods that aren't even you can't put through the scientific method. There's no dependent variable or an independent variable to control. It's rather you have to test and compare reactions or effects. For example, you can't do a scientific experiment with a dependent variable in all forms of chemistry. Sometimes you just have to take a beaker, one thing, and mix it with another beaker and, see what happens and write down the results. So, though
Yeah,
while
but
the scientific method is
wait.
nice, it's
Hold
really
on.
its applicability ends at, school. Once you get out to the real world, it gets a lot more complicated.
So the scientific method would be basically like, observation, hypothesis, test it, do a draw conclusion, and it should be the conclusions should be repeatable. So this is already like a pretty big disagreement, that you're basically saying that there's some knowledge, scientific knowledge that we should acquire via other ways than the scientific method. So now we have to like iron that out before we can move forward where in the way that I'm going. So I get what I was gonna say. I thought you were gonna agree with that. Is that the Bible makes a claim? Show me your evidence, right? And if you type pictures of space on any search engine, I think most people, if they're honest with themselves, they're and I've done this many times in person. I'll be like, hey, pull out your phone, search this. I'm like, show me one picture that's a photograph that's not made by a computer. And everyone, they just scroll and like, oh, I can't find one, but that doesn't mean anything. And so my claim would be there is a lack of observable evidence. I don't want to see some footage of Earth from really high up, because I don't deny that you can get footage of Earth from really high up. My claim would be against outer space, against all this, against the Earth spinning, and you do, doing all these motions that we don't sense. I can't observe. There's no way I can test it. All evidence that I can, all evidence that you have, as far as I know, is what either government agencies claim or just like Hollywood, basically. So NASA, Hollywood, movies, stuff like that. You can't observe the curvature you yourself. I've been on many airplanes, and I'm looking out the window for hours, and I know everyone hears me on airplanes, but I've actively looked, I get the window seat, I'm looking for hours. I don't have a fisheye lens on my camera or whatever, and it's horizontal. So the highest place where I can go, I still see no curvature, right? So that, the Bible makes a claim. The highest place that I can go, there I still can't observe it myself. And then even when I look at how the scientific way that the scientific establishment claims that they obtain that information, it still doesn't make sense. So, for example, do you know how the scientific establishment claims that the curvature of the Earth was first measured? Do you know that?
That doesn't change the fact that the shape of the Earth, and especially its diameter, has already been confirmed by amateurs and independents, even as just as a few years ago. For example, Astronomy Live used Polaris to measure and find Earth's radius. So again, appealing to what somebody did, 100 years ago doesn't change observations and measurements made, right now in this century.
Okay, see, I'm not familiar with that experiment, so I can't like attack that. So how about this? Why don't you just describe what that experiment did?
It's essentially using trigonometry. He measured the angle to Polaris from two positions. I believe it was here in Florida. He took the angle to Polaris from two different locations, and using trigonometry, he figured out the distance to Polaris. And using that, he could also calculate where it should be, to get a 90-degree angle. Since he had the angle of where Polaris was from here in Florida. So he just used that to find turn it into a right angle using trigonometry. And using that, he could find the straight line distance to where Polaris should be, again, 90 degrees above us. The problem is, using a flat Earth, he found that Polaris should be, just a little bit north of the Canadian border. Way, way far off of where Polaris actually is, 90 degrees in the sky. So again, it does, not only did that refute, flat Earth in that instance, but it was also an instance where, he managed to find Earth's radius not by following an institution, but by using his own measurements.
So again, this is the first time I hear that experiment, and a few things that I already, start to wonder. First, you have to understand that. So, you also got to try to see it from my point of view, right? If I'm saying basically there's a matrix built around the Earth being a globe when it's not, like somebody at the very, very, very top, somebody's lying, right? That's my position, and that you can go into reasons why. But so even the experiment that you're alluding to, he's saying, oh, he looked up what the angle should be. Okay, it's garbage in, garbage out. You're already that. Not only that, the experiment that you're describing, again, I cannot observe it. You're basically setting up something complex enough
But you
that the
can
average
replicate it.
civilian is not gonna go take a whole week, and get somebody on the other side of the world and measure this at the same time. That's out of the reach of most people. But when it comes to like simple stuff that you can just observe, right? Like electricity, you just turn the switch on right there. You don't believe it. You connect a battery with little wires and the little bulb, and right there, you build your own experiment. You can see it for yourself right then and there. But again, this is the first time.
But he didn't use two different people across the world. It was an observation he did himself on the same night, and he only traveled a few miles. So this is absolutely something you could replicate.
Hold on. No, this is why I'm already gonna call fake news on this one, because if it's the same person making the measurement, and your model claims that the Earth is spinning about 1,100 miles per hour, right? And that is simple math, right? You have a sphere. I don't really have anything better here, but you have a sphere, and let's say you pick a city here, and if that city makes a whole rotation in one day, in 24 hours, and it's supposed to be like 25,000 miles, you're saying you right now think that you're traveling 1,100 miles per hour. I think I'm standing still. What do my senses tell me? That I'm standing still. In my opinion, your senses tell you that you're standing still, even though you believe you're moving at 11,000 miles per hour. So my point to your little experiment is, if the same person made the measurement, look at how complex it goes. It's not even an observational thing. Now I have to believe that this guy had the capacity to get the angles right, travel a perfectly measured distance, then factored in how much the Earth moved while he was traveling, all these other factors, the wobble of the Earth, the sun is going, and then the Earth is moving with it. So you have all those factors, and you're telling me it's just some random dude perfectly measured everything, and he proved the Earth is not flat. That doesn't make sense. Give me something that I can observe, that I don't have to just believe by faith, because I obviously don't believe in global Earth by faith anymore.
Well,
Now,
you can start by repeating the experiment. Everything you just said, and I've listened to every word, was entirely incredulity. You don't believe it, but you didn't address a damn thing.
yeah, I
The
can't.
fact is,
No,
you
no,
did
no.
not address the trigonometry. Trigonometry doesn't give a damn about speed. Trigonometry is just angle, side.
Everyone watching this that believes in what you just said, believe it out of faith. There's no way they will.
No, trigonometry is not faith. Trigonometry is
Yeah, but
something that
you have
works
faith
every
in this
time.
guy. Again, do you really
Well, then
believe?
repeat it. Then
No, no,
repeat
no, no.
it.
No, my point is too complex. If the Earth is
It's too complicated to get two angles. Are you
no,
serious?
no, it's not just two angles. According to you, the Earth is moving super fast, and far
Trigonometry
from the
doesn't
Earth.
give a damn. Trigonometry does not give a damn about speed. Trigonometry is just angle, side, angle.
You're. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
What doesn't make sense? You're trying to apply something that does not fit into
The
trigonometry.
same
Pull
person
up a
making
trigonometry.
two
Pick up a
measurements has different.
trigonometric formula. Where does speed fit into that formula? It does not exist because it is three elements. It is you need to either have two sides and an angle, or you need to have two angles and a side. And there's a
Okay,
few
let me
other.
ask you a question. So the guy sets up his his thing, and he measures, right? And now he's driving to the other place. While he's driving, is the Earth moving in 4 degrees of motion? Yes or no?
Do you know how much change that Polaris is going to make in that time?
That I just asked you a yes or no question. So while he's traveling to going to point B, did the Earth move in 4 degrees of motion? Yes or no? Actually, more than that. But so you have the spin, you have the orbit around the Earth, you
Do you know
have
how
the
much spin
thrust
is
of the
going to
sun,
occur in less than
you
an
have
hour? What
the
is the
solar system
angle
is moving,
change?
the galaxy is moving. So everything is moving at the same time. Yet when this guy takes a measurement here, time just pauses for him to just drive over there and measure the angle. This guy, if that was true, that experiment is way out of that guy's ballpark. But look, let me go back to the original experiment that showed that the Earth is curved, right? And by the way, everyone right here can go to Grok or Genesis or whatever and test what I'm saying. This is how you make AI go in circular logic. If you ask which experiment shows that the Earth has a curvature, right? It'll say Eratosthenes because in Egypt he like put a pole and then dug a well and he like waited until the sun is like right over the well and then it caused a shadow in the pole, right? And then he measured and he knew the distance, so he calculated, right? So
You're missing a fundamental part of this,
which is
but that they already knew the Earth was a sphere. Aristophanes was not proving Earth was a sphere.
okay, fine. He
He was
calculated the
finding the
curvature.
size.
That's fine. That's not my point. So see, when he calculated the curvature, he used that experiment, and he had to assume that the sun rays were parallel. Like how the rain falls parallel to each other, right? So he was assuming that the sun rays were parallel. That observation, that assumption is unobservable. Everywhere I go, I see the sun rays are divergent. You can see it by a broken cloud.
And I see
And
railroad tracks converging too, far away in the distance. I guess that means they converge, right?
you see what?
Railroad lines in the distance also appear to converge. There's a reason for that. Starts with a P.
You talk about perspective, but that's not what I'm saying. So okay, but
So why is the sun exempt?
okay, so no. See, you're the one making a bit. So all of us see divergent sun rays. That's an observation.
Why is it
You
exempt? I asked
you
the
are making a
question.
claim. Hell no. You're making a
Why is
claim
it
that
exempt?
it's not exempt. You're the one making a claim. The burden of proof is on you. Show me an experiment that shows that the sun rays are parallel instead of
Okay,
just
anti-crepuscular rays.
huh?
Anti-crepuscular rays. Look them up.
All right, let me see.
It is where the sun rays all converge on the opposite side of the horizon from the sun.
Funny enough, I typed it out. They're still all divergent.
So why are they converging on a single point on the opposite side of the horizon?
On the opposite side of the horizon.
From the sun, yes. Why
Yeah,
is it that they
dude,
all
if you
converge
see,
on the opposite
so
side?
okay, so if you see this picture, dude, this is actually like this is like more evidence of flat Earth. That's hilarious. But the point is, crepuscular or not crepuscular, they're still divergent. You'll never see evidence that the sun rays are parallel.
So they're
Your
also
model,
convergent when the anti-crepuscular rays align. Coincidence.
wait, say that again.
I said, I guess it's just a coincidence that, anti-crepuscular rays, do the exact same thing, but there's no sun where they align. But ignoring that, have you ever seen crepuscular rays from above?
From above?
Yes.
Like from above the sun? What do you mean from above? Like that I'm over the sun?
If you see, you're flying over them in an aircraft, have you ever seen them?
I think I've taken pictures of them.
And what shape do they take? And I do expect to see those photos.
Let me see. So,
Gonna hop in here for a quick moment, guys. If you want to share photos, you do have that option. If you go, hang on, dude, hang on. If you want to share photos on screen so people can actually see it and they don't have to be looking at your cell phone through a webcam, click the little screen with the plus icon in it, and you can share your images that way. All right, go ahead.
Unfortunately, the pictures are on my phone, so I would have to like find them online, download them, and all these things. All right, that's fine. So I did take the pictures in the of the sun on the airplane, but again, we're going back to the very root. The experiment presumes that the sun rays are parallel, something that I myself have never been able to observe. Now you're going to say, oh, it's because of perspective. Okay, if that's true, then you need an experiment that shows that the sun rays are parallel, which it's not. I mean, okay, so if the perspective thing applies the way you're saying it does, why doesn't rain seem divergent?
Have you ever looked straight up at where its origin source? The answer is likely not, given the fact that almost every camera that you can buy will result in it becoming smeared and blurry.
Yeah, but if I'm like right here and I'm not directly above, but just a little bit farther away, right? I see that the rain goes like this, all parallel. But if the sun,
you're not looking at it from the same angle.
Like that.
You're comparing apples to oranges. It has to be from the exact same vantage point and angle. That means looking directly into the origin of the rain, which again would mean that your camera is going to be in the direct path and getting soaked. So again, you're comparing apples to oranges.
I'm not talking about cameras. I'm talking. See, this is good.
Well, then how are you going to record it?
No.
Are you going to capture the proof?
Look, because everyone listening here, almost everyone has eyes, and I'm asking you a very common thing. If you see rain not over, I understand if it's like if you find the singularity thing. I'm not. There are some things where it's going to be harder to understand the perspective that is not. But in specific scenario, I'm talking about, you see rain a quarter of a mile away, it all falls parallel. You can just see it as straight lines. But if the sun is, just a little bit away too, you'll see that and there's a broken cloud, it goes like that. So what claim do you have? Now I isolated the variable of perspective because I'm using two things, the same distance coming from above. So I isolated the variable. How do you explain that one of them looks like that and the other one is parallel?
Again, you just have to increase your elevation. Again, there are photos from directly above clouds.
That's not, but
and they show parallel sun rays.
I'm not asking you where do I have to change my position to so it does look parallel. That's what I'm asking you. What I'm asking you is why, when you're in that position, you see two different results.
I don't know. Why do shadows appear to converge on a single port in the horizon?
Okay, so you don't know.
Starts with a P. No, it starts with a P. There is a fundamental, an optical law that causes that. It's called, starts with a P, perspective.
Okay, but that doesn't. Okay, let me hold on. Let's go back to what you believe. That way you'll understand a little bit better. You believe that the sun is huge and 93 million miles away, right? So I'm just gonna like show you a small version of like what you believe, right? You believe that, correct? So you tell me that if this is the case, we're always seeing, like divergent rays when there's broken cloud. How do you reconcile the like, this is what you believe, but what we observe is divergent rays in broken cloud. How do you reconcile those two? You just say the magic word perspective, and then that's it.
Well, you just happen to say the magic word, convergent. And you just seem to ignore the fact that when you see them from above,
No,
they
the magic
align.
word is parallel. Your
Yes, you
magic
use
word is
parallel, but you
parallel.
ignore the fact that, again, you're seen from above, they align.
Well, have you ever seen a picture of any parallel sun rays?
Yes.
Okay, can you attach it to the stream?
I'm trying to figure out how to do that, but worst case scenario, I can send it after.
Okay. So, I mean, what will be next? I mean, would you have any questions? Like, what do you want to talk about? I can keep going, but
Well, hang on. For some reason, he just dipped. I'm going to assume that was a mistake on his part and wait for him to come back.
he rage quit.
I highly doubt that.
No, I'm just kidding.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll wait.
All
In
right.
fact, since I guess there's people watching, let me see. Since there's people watching, and it says, does he show you how many people are watching? Oh yeah, like 100. So I'll just keep. Well, no, I don't want to like make an argument, when he's not here. But
That's probably a smart thing. Oh, look at that. He's back.
perfect.
Mike, I'm going to assume that was a mistake on your part.
Correct.
Nah,
Okay, good.
you rage quit, man. Come on, admit it.
No, I was trying, like I said, trying to figure out how to upload something, and I tapped.
Just kidding.
I didn't remember. Anyway, to return, let's just, quite
So
clearly,
okay,
we're
pending.
going in
Oh, you know what?
circles.
I'm gonna put it in my notes. So by the way, that's a pretty good username. Another big Mike. So I put here, another big Mike claimed that he can produce pictures of parallel sun rays, and this will be, I'll bring it up maybe on Twitter or something.
Fair enough. Now, do you want to turn to the sun? Is that what you were trying to do before I left, or, let you steer?
I'm sorry. If I want to
Well,
turn
it
to,
sounded
you
like,
mean like to steer the conversation that way?
yes. I mean, I'm, you're the guest here, so I'm trying to, giving you that option.
Hold on, give me one quick second before another big Mike can produce pics of parallel sun rays. That's gonna be interesting because I've been looking those for years. All right. So if you ask me to steer, I would say let's talk about the moon. Right. So the Bible says, and again, I'm not preaching. I'm just that's where I'm gonna start my, the Bible says that God created two great lights, one to rule the day and the lesser one to rule the night. So Bible says the moon is a light, right? And by the way, for the people that are, if you go to my profile and you click highlights, I did like a handful of social experiments. I think I call it like anti-social experiment. And I just went up to people in the parking lot at night. And by the way, I'm using the moon because I know it's night for most of the US. So you can go outside and actually observe with your own eyes for the first time. So the moon creates its own light, right? If you grab a camera, let's say, you just grab your phone, right? And you put the moon next to like a light bulb in the parking lot, right? You'll see the light bulb in the parking lot produces its own light and it looks a certain way through the camera, right? And the moon, in my opinion, looks like the light bulb. But your model claims, again, unobservable to me, that the moon is like the brightest, shiniest rock ever that's just reflecting light. Now, what material can you show me that it reflects light to a point where it's so, like it looks like it's producing it, other than like a mirror, I'm interested in that. But
Asphalt.
you said what?
The moon's albedo matches that of asphalt, which is why if you take a picture of asphalt during, noon conditions on a clear day, it will, your camera will adjust and fit to the same conditions as it would for a full moon.
Okay, so for example, if you just like so you really believe that if you're if you're in the moon and you're looking at, towards the earth, and the sun is like shining on like a concrete jungle that's, repaved or whatever, you'll see like it'll illuminate the moon like the moon does to our to our parking lots and stuff. Do you think that's the
Is a
case?
parking lot that blinding to you?
What do you mean?
You're trying to make it seem like it's going to be some bright object when in fact the moon isn't that bright. The overall illumination in lux is substantially lower. I can't remember. It's like
If you are
600
in a
compared to
forest, your
10,000
only
during the day,
if you're in the forest, your only source of light would be the moon, and you could still see a
which
lot of
means
things.
that it's extremely bright compared to nothing. You're comparing nearly zero to something with light. That's always going to be the case. Even a small lighter will seem extremely bright in an extremely dark room.
So you think that the sun goes towards the moon, bounces back, hits the atmosphere, and even after scattering and stuff, is still enough to just let you see pretty much everything.
Have you ever considered the fact that for a light, it seems to cast an extremely large amount of shadows across its surface?
Man, honestly, I don't know if I'm like mishearing, but can you like talk a little bit like closer to the microphone, or enunciate a little bit better? I also
Let
have
me.
the
Can you hear me now?
yes, that's better.
What I said is the moon seems to cast, if it's a light, it casts a large amount of shadows across its surface. Shadows that always align with the location of the sun. Always.
So you're saying that the shadows produced by the moon are okay. So do you have
No,
a
cast
and
on the, cast.
which
There are surface features on the moon and they
which
cast shadows
and just so I can look it up, like which science experiment like shows that?
using a telescope.
So by you using a telescope, you just look. Wait, hold on. So you're saying you look at the shadows that the moon produces, but use a telescope to look at
Yes,
what?
you point a telescope at the moon, specifically at larger craters, and you will see that they cast varying levels of shadows. You can
Oh, you're
especially
saying
see
the
this as it
craters of the
changes
moon.
throughout.
Okay.
Well, it's not just craters. You also have rills, valleys, mares. There the moon is very topographically changing. It's not a flat surface. Perhaps if some people actually looked at night, they know this. And as someone who's actually been photographing the moon over the last 6 months, I'm trying to capture lunar libration, something flat Earth has never even begun to try to
Okay,
explain.
okay, okay. So how about this? Why don't you guys go on a search engine right now and just go on images and type "star through the moon"? How do you explain that?
How about you actually identify the star or the fact that, make it repeatable, provide a time and date. A random,
There'll be many.
composite photo is
Okay,
not
hold on,
proof.
but wait. But I'm.
Random composite photo is not proof.
But you've never seen that yourself?
I have been observing the moon not only for the last 6 months consecutively for my lunar libration observation, but yes, I've been observing the moon my entire life. I've never once seen a star in the moon. At
Okay,
best, you can
and
see stuff like Venus nearby, but whenever an occultation occurs, Venus disappears. Anyone with a telescope can watch Mars, Venus, Jupiter, all these various planets quite literally disappear once the moon crosses them.
can you see Mercury?
Do you know when you can see Mercury? Do you know when you can see Venus?
Do I know what?
Do you know when you can see Mercury? What time of the day do you have to be to see Mercury or Venus?
No, I don't know the times. Do you?
Let me guess, you're going to point out, oh, it's because it's closer to the sun, you shouldn't be able to see it on Earth. Let me guess.
That's a correct guess. So now, how do you explain that?
It's simple. you look during sunrise or sunset when you still have the ability to see beyond the horizon. Then you're seeing the same direction as the sun, but you're not being blinded by the sun. This is quite simple. It's literally the same as, a distant car being between, you have a car's headlights in your eyes, but if you're behind a car, it blocks the light, but you can still see a nearby tree, on the other side of the car because you're far enough around it to see it. That's why you can only see Mercury and Venus at sunrise or sunset. Shortly thereafter or before that, it's not visible.
I'm not so sure of that, but I'm trying to find like solar, images of solar system to scale, which again, they're all going to be cartoons and diagrams because they don't have actual pictures. And give me one quick sec. Because I think if you look at these little diagrams where each planet is like at the same distance from each other, then yeah, you can make that
But that
argument.
isn't realistic.
Exactly.
Planets are not the same distance.
With those fake pictures and cartoons, you maybe can stretch your argument to make it seem plausible. But if you add the scale, like if let's say that,
Then show it. Don't just say it. Actually demonstrate it. Create a model that shows that. Meanwhile,
right,
the fact is, you can, and people have modeled it. So, again, I'll link that one. It's just a simple, it's a straight
look,
line where it's no longer obscured by the horizon.
this is where I go to even say that this helps my argument. We have 60, 70 years or whatever of space exploration, spending $60 million a day. And when I type on search solar system to scale, there's like, I don't see a single image. And there might be like somewhere, deep, but it's like very, very hard to find.
Are you expecting a photo of every planet side by side?
Well, you know what? One photo would be nice, but I don't see.
Planets don't align like that. Not only are they at
They
different,
don't have to align.
extreme distances. Not only
Even
are they extreme distances. The fact,
I'm not even talking about a photo. I'm saying like even these little diagrams that they have, most of them are like spaced out evenly, and I want to see the actual scale of like how far, because I think if you factor in the scale that your model claims, you can't see Mercury during the day. During the night.
That's why you can't see it at night. You have to see it during sunrise or sunset. Typically only within an hour prior to it.
All right, hold on. Let me see. So how about this? What's the latest time that Mercury has ever been seen on the sky? Do you know?
I don't have an exact timeline, but it's again typically about an hour before, an hour before sunrise or an hour after sunset. I don't have exact times, especially since it varies.
So on the sphere model, right? Where you're in New York, right? Or on the east.
I'm
When
Florida.
you see a sunrise, if this, let's just say the sun is at 9 p.m., right, relative to the Earth, so on that opposite side, where would you be when you see and use the clock? Where would you be when the sun starts setting?
Where am I compared to what again?
Okay, so this is the sun, right? Let's say this is the Earth, and this is the clock. Are you when you don't see the sun anymore? Are you at like 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m.? Like where are you on the clock when you can't see the sun anymore?
This question doesn't quite make sense. I guess you're trying to figure out its time relative throughout the year.
Just pick today, like September 8th. If the sun is here, right? Where were you on the Earth when you're right after the sunset?
I'm close to the equator. Florida's, I mean, it's one of the most southernmost points in the continental U.S.
Okay, so now if you uh, grab the equator, right? You know how we have time zones. So what you're in time zone number, what is it, like -5 or whatever? This, I don't know the notation.
It's just +1 from you since you're an hour behind me.
I know, but they use like the Greenwich or whatever. So when you're in the -5, where is -5 when the sun set rises? Is it at 1:01 on the clock? Like, I mean, I really think I'm asking a simple question here. Red, you want to like chime in and say your opinion, or maybe paraphrase my question?
Only if I'm invited.
Yeah, go ahead. Where do you think? So if the equator was, if you divide it by the 12 o'clock, where, when an observer stops seeing the sun, at what time on the clock is he? What, on the equator?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Are you asking like what time it sets? Because if so, it's close to I think 7 o'clock.
Since you invited me in, let me just
So
cut to the
let's say,
chase
okay,
here.
no, you know what? I realized I wasn't specific about this. Let's say that 12 o'clock is fixed. So the clock is fixed, right? When you stop seeing the sun, are you at 12, or are you at 1, or are you at 2? Like, how far along the rotation are you where you can't see the sun anymore?
I guess you're asking relative to Greenwich time.
Sure.
Okay, let me jump in here and ask a simple clarifying question. What point are you trying to make by asking this question? Maybe that will clarify things.
Well, if you say
Are you
you're
trying to
like,
make an argument about how we know how far away the sun is?
no, I'm not going that route at all. I'm saying if you're gonna claim that you can't see the sun, okay, hold on. Let me backtrack a little bit. You know how sometimes the day, if you go to the weather app, it'll be like longer than 12 hours, right? I understand you can claim refraction and all these things. So like, it illuminates from your model
Or the
slightly
fact that we're
half,
tilted on our axis?
okay, but slightly more than half, right? If you're at the equator, right, you can see sunlight a little bit more than than the 12 hours.
Yes, there's some illumination there, correct.
Okay, so um
So where are you going with this?
I was trying to see, like, how do you if you still see sun past more than half of the sphere. So when you're rotating along the sphere, you can see the sun in more than half of your spin, right? We already established that. How, when you're not seeing the sun anymore, you can see Mercury? So you're like so you're saying like you don't see, you're still seeing the sunset here, even when you're like going away from, again, the sun is here, you're going past that. There's, I mean, do you not see what I'm asking? Like,
I'm trying my best, but dude, I'm just gonna be honest with you. You're making no sense to me right now.
Yeah, I mean, at best, what I'm picking up is you're trying to argue how Earth's changing day lengths affects our ability to see Mercury, and the answer is it does, again, but it varies depending on where we are in Earth's orbit, the time of year.
And also, just so that we're clear, there's a few places on Earth that you can go to where you can see some sunlight on the horizon, even though it's midnight. Go to South America. That's what you will see.
okay, so I haven't been that far south, and I probably will
Other
be
people
sometime.
have.
But give me something that I can observe right now. If I look at the sky, right, why the sun might set at 8 p.m. and then I can see Mercury after that.
Because again, it's high enough in the sky for it to still be visible before Earth's rotation brings it below the horizon. But prior to that, the sun is up, and well, good luck
Look, you
trying
know what?
to see
Honestly,
something
it's
that's
a matter
gonna
of skill, and there's no way that I'm gonna be able to like even make a point through like
incredulity.
No, it's not incredulity. Is I could say the same thing. So that leads nowhere. I mean, do you
I
want to
haven't
pick
been. I
do you
haven't
want to
been
pick a topic, or
incredulous.
you want me to pick the next?
Pick the next topic.
All right, let me see here.
I called dibs on the next
Okay,
one.
so
I want to follow back.
do you agree? Is the solar system itself flat, or is it like an atom where like all the planets are like going around all over the place?
Now, many of the planets do follow in a single ecliptic plane. However, other objects, especially things like Pluto, do not. They are not in the same plane. Comets, especially, comets and asteroids, can have any number of equatorial planes relative to the rest of the ecliptic. And this is even further established given, my friend Astronomy Live, he literally discovered a comet by himself using a NASA spacecraft, and then several months later, he observed it with his telescope many months in advance, many months after he used a NASA spacecraft, to detect it.
Okay, but so basically the spirit, the spirit of my question is doesn't why isn't the solar system like that?
Well, it's quite simple. Just imagine you have a whirlpool of water and you try to steer it. You put rocks in there and you throw it against the current. What happens to those rocks? Do they maintain that direction, or
Are you
due
saying
to collisions and other impacts and it being moved, it starts to move with the rest of the flow? It's quite literally just elimination of any debris going the opposite direction.
are
Now
you
that
saying that a perfect vacuum has the same effect as a current of water?
I never said the vacuum did. I said collisions. I specifically used the word collisions.
So after a bunch of random collisions, they all ended magically in the same plane.
The largest objects did, the smaller ones did not. That's where the comets and asteroids I previously mentioned fall in.
All right. What about why do we always see like the same face of the moon? And I already know your
We
answer, but I
don't.
want
That
to say
goes
it.
back to my comment about lunar libration. Lunar libration is quite literally where we can see beyond the horizon of the moon as it, rotates, but as we see it move relative to the Earth. Again, you'll see that probably sometime next year when I finish up this project.
But I'm not sure that answered the question though. Like the question was
The answer
why?
is we do not
How
see
do we see
always
the
the
same
same
face
face. It changes.
every day?
It changes. That's the answer.
It
It's
changes.
a very subtle process, but look up lunar libration. It does change. We can
So
quite
so
literally
you
see it pivot towards us and away from us. And as a result, craters and other features disappear behind the lunar horizon. Again,
so
I'm
you
literally photographing this.
so now you're basically claiming that over time you can see the entire surface of the moon.
I did not see that. I did not say that. I said that you can see the moon's, different features come from and, out from behind the horizon of the moon and back behind it again.
So
Noting that that's specifically a feature of a spherical object, not a flat. Because if it was flat, if as it changes angle towards us, we would still see the same
I don't
features.
know. I haven't made any claims about the shape of the moon. So, but wait, hold on. It doesn't. If you look up pictures of the moon, you're telling me that the faces of the moon you'll see they look different.
Specifically, if you look at its angle and especially the
Not the
features
angle. I'm
along
not.
the edge.
No. That's not the spirit of my question. I'm not asking if you take a picture of the moon from Australia or from.
That's not what I said. That is not what I said. My lunar liberation observation all takes place from the same porch here in Florida.
Okay, so if everyone right here listening Google's pictures of the moon,
Google lunar
are they gonna see
libration,
different
you will get a
faces?
GIF that shows exactly what
By the
lunar
way, I'm talking about.
libration
Hold on.
is.
I'm talking about face. I'm not talking about
Yes,
pH.
and I'm talking about how it's changing. You were asking a question
Okay.
and I am answering it.
Okay, so yes or no? If people look up right now, pictures of the moon, are the faces gonna be different or the same?
They will see different terrain 15 days from now than they do now, specifically along the edge of the moon. What
But I'm
part
not
of that
talking
is
about
not
15
computing?
days or later or now. I'm talking about right now. If they go and search, they already, again, just the same way
You're
you're doing
asking
your
people to
project.
search when a simple search for lunar libration GIF will quite literally demonstrate what it is and how it works.
So my contention is if you look up pictures of the moon, you'll see the same face. and
Not
you're
always the
basically
same craters along the edge, because that depends on its point in the orbit around the Earth. Seriously, just stop, pause, type in lunar libration into Google, and click on the first GIF it shows.
lunar vibration.
Libration, Libration.
All right. So I see once again the same faces of the moon, except if there's cartoons. But every image is the same face. You
But
can
why
have
are the
the
craters
face
along the
here,
edge
here.
changed?
You can rotate, you can spin this, but it's the same face.
So you're going to ignore the fact that craters will no longer be visible throughout the throughout the month. Gotcha.
I'm not. Hold on. I haven't ignored that. All I'm saying is that I looked up what you
Then
said.
address it.
Okay, I haven't never heard that specific claim, so I'll look into it. If you want me to just pause for like 15 minutes and waste everyone's time, that's something that I have to like look
How
into.
about instead you ask questions and try to understand instead of
But
just making
hold on.
assertions based on
But
no information?
hold on. Give me one quick second.
Just so you're aware, Big Mike, you can screen share whenever you want. That might help things.
All right.
I'm trying
Here
to
we
figure
go.
out how to do that on iPhone.
Now we're talking. Ready? So you see this? So this, let's just call this the face of the tennis ball, right? This is still the same face. Now, are you claiming that you can see like a little bit like that and a little bit like that, so you see 58%? So now what I'm asking you is, why can we not see here? Like, how do are you saying that it's what, like a pendulum, that you only see like a little bit beyond and a little bit beyond, but why can't we see the completely other side?
What is an orbit?
So if you have this orbiting something, you'll see different faces.
Again, it is based on you're trying to answer something that's not the case in the heliocentric model. You're just trying to. I don't even know what is your point here. What is your point? This isn't a globe Earth. This isn't a globe refute. This is just
Well,
an observation.
it's just, again. So, okay, yeah, I'll make it more concise. I think that the Bible makes a claim,
It is
and
not a light. We've already established that, given the fact that light, shadows are cast on it. It
the Bible
casts
makes a claim
shadows,
in general about the Earth being flat and the firmament and all these things.
which you also have to
And
prove that there's a firmament. Just going to point that out.
okay, hold on. So the Bible makes a claim, and then your evidence, it's all either extremely hard for civilian to observe it by themselves, and they have to have this like complex. It's not just so simple. Basically, there is a meme in that I've seen for the flat Earth. It's like realizing the water can curve, and it's just like a guy looking at the beach, and then there's this guy with like a huge whiteboard explaining all these things and that's every little question. You have this huge whiteboard, and everything is counterintuitive. Nothing is simple. You can't
And your
observe
current
it. I
argument
just have to
is,
say
I
the
don't believe it.
scientists. Oh, this guy
I've
made an
made
experiment.
multiple refutes.
Okay, so why can we see? Give me a simple answer on why this
Tidal locking. 2 words. It's
no, you
called
haven't.
tidally locked.
I asked you. You said, "What is an orbit?" That was your answer.
Well, that is one answer, and tidal locking is a part of orbits. Perhaps try to consider that before you speak.
Wait, yeah, I missed that phrase that you used. Can you repeat?
Tidal locking. TIDAL space
Okay, tidal locking. Okay, great.
LOCKING.
So I did want you to say that. So you're basically gonna think, you're trying to have me believe that because of tidal locking, like even though the moon is moving around the Earth, it's just so happened that like it's the face we always see essentially the same face of the moon. So we're never gonna see the back.
Nice goalpost move, buddy.
Huh?
I noticed that you suddenly slipped in the word essentially.
Yeah, because
Instead
I
of
want
we
to avoid
always.
your little
You
like,
changed
oh,
the
we see
word.
53%. Give me the thing. Why can we not see the back? I'm trying to
Tidal
avoid your
locking.
little. I disagree with your thing.
You're trying to make an argument that doesn't even exist. It's called a straw man. You know, that just
No, I'm
because
not.
that we
I'm
have
not.
tidally locked moon does not refute the globe in any manner. All you're doing is you're trying to build a straw
I'm
man.
not right now. I'm not referring to the globe. I'm just asking you why.
Well, then why'd you bring up, a globe meme? Oh, it's, a big whiteboard with, formula. Why'd you bring that up then? It's quite literally you
Yeah,
are
because
arguing from incredulity.
because look, all of your all of the model's explanations are
Then,
something
okay, no, fair.
counterintuitive, hard to
Okay, then
understand, hard
explain
to
lunar
observe.
libration on a flat Earth. Explain lunar libration on a flat Earth.
Okay,
Since
I'll
you're
look in.
saying that the
I
globe is
already.
too complicated.
Okay, hold on. You know what? I'm gonna keep my word. I'm gonna look into that, but I don't have the answer right now. Like I told you from the beginning, I just because I realized that model is flawed doesn't mean that I suddenly have all the other answers. It's
But
the
you aren't
first.
pointing out a flaw. You're just pointing out a complaint, something you don't like about it. Your
No,
dislike for
no, that's not
something
what I'm
does not
doing.
refute it.
What I'm doing
Then why are
is
you pointing it up? What is your
no.
point?
What I'm
What
doing
is
is
your point?
my point is your model makes huge, massive claims against what the Bible says, and they're hard to observe, hard to see, hard to prove. They're all extreme coincidences. Like for example, oh, the moon and the sun. Like they're
The
the
same
sun is
size? They
400.
aren't.
The,
Annular
the sun is
eclipse.
400 times bigger than the moon, but they're also
Annular
400 times.
eclipse.
And so
Annular eclipse.
huh?
Annular eclipse. You will see that the moon is smaller than the sun.
But that's not okay. By how much? Wait, hold on. What do you mean it's smaller
By
than the sun?
enough that you can see the entire ring of the sun around the moon.
So what is the ratio of their sizes to their distances?
Don't have the exact number, but you can just Google it and just look up annular eclipse ring of fire.
All right, you didn't
This is a
answer it.
very common photo.
So I'm gonna see. Let's look it up on your behalf about what your model says. It's like thinking a lot.
And while we wait, I'll also
Okay, here it is. See, so it says that it's essentially the distance ratio is 400 times, and the size ratio is also 400 times. So see, in
But you
general,
didn't look up a photo. I noticed that. I told you to
why
look
I
up
went to
the
Grok.
photo of the ring of
But
fire.
look, what I'm trying to hear, what you guys don't realize is I have a basket now of all these little coincidences that you want me to believe. You want me to believe that
Coincidences, you need misunderstandings that you're actually trying to follow through on.
Hold on.
You're just going to use this. You're going to try to take something that you don't understand and use it in a different argument with somebody else.
Okay,
You're not learning anything.
That's fine. You're not learning anything.
You're
I can
going to
see
go to
something. You're not learning.
you're going to
So,
mention title locking to somebody else, and
look,
you're going to be not going to have a clue what it means.
again, so if I were to look, if an alien, let's just say humans just created a new life form, right? So they
There,
create
I shared an image of a annular eclipse for you, Big Mike, because you're apparently on a cell phone.
Yeah, my internet on my computer is broken. I'm trying to get it fixed. I apologize.
Yeah, so that's an annular eclipse with a solar filter. There you go.
Okay, so solar filter, that's great. Now let me make my original point, but let me finish this. You can interrupt me other times, but let me finish this one though. So I have this basket of massive, each individual is like one massive coincidence that you want me to believe. After all the collisions, the big items are insane, are on a flat plane. The moon and the sun, it's 400 times bigger, but it's 400 times farther away, so it look about the same, right? Then the moon, it has tidal lock, so you can't, it won't just rotate so we can see the effect. No, we only see it's just slightly above 50%. And by the way, I would argue the 50%, but sure, let's just slightly above 50%. So you're gonna have all these claims that are all counterintuitive, all you can observe
So you say,
huh?
You say, again, this is quite literally incredulity.
You
This is why
saying
it's
that
arbitrary.
big collisions made all the planets line up in the same plane? That to you is
Orbital
intuitive?
collisions have been observed, and more importantly, I've already explained the fact that things have been observed outside of the orbital plane. Your choice to ignore that does not refute their
But
existence.
but here's the thing. Here's another
Then address their existence.
Here's another thing about the
You
globe.
have to address their existence. If you're going to
Okay,
try
you know
and
what?
argue against
I'll
them, you have
address
to
right
address
now
them.
a generality that will embark all of your objections. Whenever I say something like the planets are on a plane, right? You're like, oh no, but this one is like right here, which is completely unobservable to me. Then the moon,
It's only
you don't
unobservable
see the
because
same
you
place.
don't bother
No, you
looking.
can see right here. So all your arguments are like, oh,
You mean the arguments that are based on observations? Again, everything you're arguing, especially when it came to like Mercury and Venus, notice that you don't have any of your own observations. You aren't saying, oh, well, I did this with my telescope. It's just you don't believe
I
it.
have my own observations, but not with a
Well, then
telescope.
show them.
I told you I've never observed parallel sun rays.
Well, I'm not just talking about those. I'm also mentioned Mercury, Venus.
Okay,
Hell,
fine.
even I did observations of lunar libration. I'm doing it right now. That's something I can attest to. That is not
Okay, but
NASA.
you already have a confirmation bias. You believe the same thing you were taught.
Oh, so you don't have a confirmation bias about
If I
the
did, I
Earth
wouldn't be
being
able to
flat?
change my mind. I look, we were both taught the same thing when I was 3 years old, when you were 3 years old, and 4, 5, 6. And I believe you believe 88% of my life or so.
No,
So
you just believe, you're agnostic. That is the best condition. That is like a Christian who, was
no, I
taught
wasn't
4
Christian.
verses,
No.
and okay, then why don't you understand these
No,
basic
I
concepts?
turned Christian
You like
about
to
12
talk about
times.
how, Earth rotation isn't measurable when it can be measured. You can measure it. So come on, you're not arguing from a place of you being informed. You're arguing from ignorance. It's no different than
No.
a
I just
Christian, quote unquote.
notice that I haven't attacked you once.
I haven't
And
attacked you. I just pointed out a flaw
you
in
are
your argument. Where
no,
did I insult you? Where did
I
I
think
insult you? So let me
okay,
apologize.
you know
Where did I
what? That's
insult
fair.
you?
I said you're arguing about a confirmation bias. I think saying I argue out of ignorance is pretty much equivalent, so that's fair. But let's just move on to the next. So if the sun rays are parallel, how are the umbra and penumbra caused?
Distance from the moon is just the shadow cast. You have the narrow shadow, which is the penumbra, and then you have the wider cast shadow. You can quite literally see this again. Just go outside with a car or just a large object. You will see 2 shadows: the primary shadow, and you will have the outside shadow. This is
So
quite
here,
easily demonstrated.
this is what they first. Hold on, let me like put it sideways.
No one can see that.
I know that's what I'm trying to. So this is what they claim. See, this is your model right here. The parallel sun rays, how they the distance that he measured and how he calculated. See, but he assumes that the sun rays are parallel. And now I go to the very next picture, and now what happened to what happened to parallel?
Who said they aren't parallel? That's just showing the
And
extremes.
here's another funny thing that goes. You see how both of those they're not really photographs. They're both cartoons.
So are
So
you
if what are you
expecting
gonna
to see
believe,
a
the
shadow in
government or your
space?
lying eyes?
Are you saying that you can see a shadow against the blackness of space?
I have not made that claim at all. Like what? Why
Then
would?
what are you expecting to see? Explain that. Be specific as possible. What are you expecting to see?
Oh, I'm getting an unexpected guest here. Okay, I am expecting. Wait, what was the question again?
You were the one who asked.
I asked how the sun rays parallel here, but not here. I didn't ask about
And
how
I told you that
expect
the
shadow.
cartoon, as you put it, was just showing the extremes of the sun, because again, that's the farthest point that the sun rays are going to be, reaching when it comes relative to the Earth. Not even that. If you want to be more, pedantic, the sun rays are actually traveling 360 degrees, and only a tiny, 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 tiny fraction is actually hitting the Earth, and therefore the moon.
And they're so far away that they arrive parallel, right?
Again, they
So
arrive
the
at,
sun is so
they
far
all
away
originate from the same central point. The
that
sun is
the rays arrive parallel.
relative to the Earth, yes.
And this is parallel?
Who said that was trying to show exactly parallel? Again, what
Well,
part of
okay, look, that's fine.
what part of that
I
is
think
the
the people that are
extremes, the
objectively
furthest
listening,
point?
I think the people that are objectively listening with an open mind, they just caught a little bit of cognitive dissonance there. So I'm going to move on to the next one.
That's an at home. You're just trying to reach.
That's my opinion. What about what about does pressurized gas require containment? Yes or no?
Based on measurements from reality, no. And more importantly, you have to prove there's a container.
So pressurized gas doesn't require. So do you have an example of that?
Yes, high altitude balloons going up to 150,000 feet and measuring pressure down to 0.02 psi. This is something that's been repeated even by a flat earther, and the measurements are all the same. It is, way below 0.1, and there's no barrier, no container, no firmament.
Okay, again,
Unless you can prove one exists.
What about, does vacuum require containment? I see what you're doing, but it's fine. I'll do another one.
What was the question? Sorry, I had to step away. But, like I said, the vacuum of space. What are you trying to ask about the vacuum of space?
The vacuum of space. Hold on. So I guess, you guys have your own audience. I'm always spamming like a handful of pictures because I got to develop more. And it's pretty hard to find like true. Okay, here it is. So for you, this is also not counterintuitive.
Hang on. With permission from both of you, can I step in here for a second? I have something that's relevant.
Yes.
Okay. I recorded, it's on my YouTube channel, and since I'm on my computer, I can show it to you if you would like, of a rocket launch. As the rocket launches, the gases coming out of the rocket are illuminated, so you can see them. As the rocket is getting higher and higher and higher, the air is getting thinner and thinner and thinner. So the gases that are coming out of the rocket start to expand. And as it gets higher, it expands more and more and more. Eventually, what happens is that the rocket gets so high and the vacuum is so absolute that you can't see the gases anymore. They expanded so much. Now, it didn't have to go through a dome in order to experience that drop in atmospheric pressure because it didn't smash into anything and blow up on the way up. Again, I can pull up this video if you would like to see it. This is observations that I did myself.
I believe what you're saying. I'm not sure that's the cause, but let me.
No. It's that is because you said that don't you require a physical barrier, i.e., a dome, in order to have that drop in atmospheric pressure between pressurized and not pressurized. We have evidence to show that you do not need that barrier. A rocket didn't hit a barrier because it didn't blow up on the way up. See what I mean? So if your claim is that you require that container, we have independent evidence to show that that is not the case. And again, I can show you that footage if you don't believe me.
I can see the footage, and I'll look into that. Here, look into lunar vibration. Hold on. And what do you call that?
It was my Atlas V 551 launch. Let me provide the link to you so that you can look it up. And better yet, I'm just going to make the...
So wait, hold on. Another Big Mike. Do you believe in the Big Bang?
I don't think I was done yet.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll finish here.
All right, cool. Let me get something up real quick. So I'm going to screen share something to you. You should be able to see it. Give me a quick second. Here it goes. All right. So this was a Atlas V 551 launch. Let me mute the audio because why the hell not? So
Dude, these people in the comments are so mad.
Yeah, I imagine. Okay. So can you, are you seeing the gases right here?
Yes.
Okay. See how they're kind of in a straight line, staying together in this line right here?
Okay.
Now the rocket is going up and up and up. As it gets higher and higher and higher. Yes, as the rocket gets higher and higher and higher, the air gets thinner. Now look what happens to the gas after the air gets thinner. The gas expands.
No. But go back.
The gas expands.
Hold on.
The gas expands. The gas expands some more.
Why don't you show the video? Why are you like cutting it like that? Go back and then play the actual video. So to you, that looks like it's going up.
Yes, that is most definitely going up. I was pointing my camera up while I was watching this.
I mean, that's just, I would say, counterintuitive again. Looks like it's going down. But
do you see how the gases are expanding? That means you're experiencing lower atmospheric pressure. That means it's gaining in altitude. See, this altitude
No,
is
you see, you're doing that same thing of like, oh, we measure the curvature so the sun rays are parallel. You're using circular logic. You can't say that. You can't
I'm not.
say
I
you.
didn't
No, no,
mention
no, no.
the. I didn't mention the sun rays. Do not put words in my mouth, sir.
No,
I did not mention the sun rays. I am talking
sir.
specifically about atmospheric pressure. You can see the
I
gases
understand. I'm saying.
expand
I'm
as
saying.
the rocket gets higher.
I'm saying the same circular logic that the experiment for the sun rays are like, oh, the sun. We measure the curvature so the sun rays are parallel. That's circular logic because you can't prove that the sun rays are parallel. You just have to believe that they're 93 million miles away, so they
You're
arrive
bringing
parallel.
up a non
You're doing
sequitur,
the same
sir.
thing here. You're doing circular logic. It looks like it's going down, but you're saying, oh
I'd
no, it's
like to
going
point
up
out,
because
Red,
it's
that you could also
expanding.
pull up the USF 67. That's probably a better video,
Show me
especially if
one
you're
that's
trying
going up and
live.
then expanding.
That one
That's
still
what you should
shows the
do.
exhaust,
Yeah,
but it's actually going
I'm showing you
vertical.
one that's going up and
No,
expanding.
but no. What I meant,
Because guess
show me
what?
one
Because
that
guess what?
looks like
As
it's
you
going
get
up.
higher, the atmospheric pressure drops. You're seeing atmospheric pressure drop right here.
You're not getting my point, but that's fine.
No. I get what you're trying to say. You're trying to get away from the fact that you can see atmospheric pressure drop
Because
without
first of all,
going
that thing's
through
going down.
container.
So
You
right
don't want
there,
to you don't want to accept that, but that's what's being
why
shown in
would
this
I
video.
accept that this is going up? Why would I accept that?
Sir. Here's what I want you to do.
Mhm.
Take your finger, point it straight up.
Okay.
Points. No. Do it. Points all the way up. All the way up. Extend your arm all the way up. You can go higher than that.
Okay. And then
Okay. Now point your finger forward.
okay.
All right. Now continue to increase elevation while pointing your finger forward.
Okay, I know what you're gonna say. You're
Now,
basically
hang on.
you're
Now
gonna
imagine we had a camera filming that. How would it look in the frame, sir? How
yeah,
would it
exactly.
look in the frame?
You're gonna explain an order counterintuitive thing that
How
rockets
would that
look
look in the frame,
like they're
sir?
going along the firmament, but they're going up. See, I already
No,
know.
how would that look in the frame, sir?
If it were moving up, it would you look smaller, and eventually disappear.
No. I'm talking about the directionality. How would it look in the frame, sir? It would look
Yeah,
like it would
if it was just moving up,
it would look like it was going down in frame, right?
no, you know what?
Congratulations, we just figured it out together. Now we can move on.
So you're rationalizing why it looks like rockets. If you just have an observer looking at a rocket, instead of it disappearing, it just goes like the shape of the firmament. Or the
No,
dome.
it's not.
No.
It's not
Yes,
doing.
that's what it does. But that's fine.
No,
I know there's
have a
something to the
finger
thing that
and you
if your
hold it
eyes
up
tell
and
you
you go.
something, but you gotta believe this is like
Everyone who's watching this is easily getting this. You're the only one that's
yes, I
not
know,
getting this
because
right
that was
now.
a Globy. Like that's not surprise to me. It's fine. You know, people look. Most people, you know, they instead of worshiping Jesus, they worship their own ego, and you know when you're lied
Is
to
that
from
what you're doing right now?
from
Worshiping
your
your
little
own
kid,
ego?
they lie
Fine,
because
I'll
part of
draw.
your ego.
I understand
I
that
mean, of your identity. Well, you know, ego
I may
identity.
have to break out the crayons with this one. Fine, let's break out the crayons. Okay, here's the
Yeah.
crayons. So let's imagine we
No,
have an
wait.
observer.
Okay, you know what? I'll go Trump mode here. 2 versus 1. You know, blurring for her wherever.
Let's
No problem at all.
have an observer
But
right here, and let's have a rocket. Let's say it's doing this.
okay, and
So
what
it's
you draw
gonna
that?
launch, and it's eventually going to level out as it goes into orbit, right? This is the launch of the rocket. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this. Let's use our field of view as red. So this is going to be our field of view. If I have my camera looking at this field of view, so this is the field of view right here, notice how we're still gaining altitude, but in the field of view, it looks like it's going down. Imagine that. Pretty pictures definitely helped in this situation, didn't they?
In the field of view is still going down.
Notice how this line is still going up. It's still
Okay,
gaining
now pull up your
altitude.
other video.
But in the field of view,
Okay,
in the field of
but that's
view,
like
it's going down.
pull up your other video real quick, like the one you were showing.
This is the visual I'm showing.
No, but I'm talking about the little gas expanding.
I just would like to point out that USF 67 makes this entirely moot as it stays almost, closer to vertical
Dude,
the entire time.
that's crazy,
It looks
bro.
like it's going
Like
down.
you guys have all these complex explanations. You don't want to show your face. You go 2 versus 1. It's easy.
If you want me, if you want me to stop talking because
no,
it's
no,
too
no, no.
hard, just
I
say the
actually like
word.
it. No, no, no. For real, I'm trolling. I actually like, you
That
know,
sounded like an
I think
ad
we'll go
hoc.
farther in the
No,
direction I want to go.
it's fine. It's fine. I'll shut the fuck up. Go ahead.
No, but dude, I'm serious. Like, I actually like it because it's easier to, I think, whoever's right, the argument will go faster in that direction. So, you could even say that the raiders, or the moderators interrupting Trump help Trump, right? So that type of, you just, whatever the truth is, you approach it quicker when there's like more voices. Anyways,
It
trolling
sounds
aside,
like a Fozzie diversion from that band debate you had.
it's, say that again.
It's a comment, when Red debated a flat earther, he also made a diversion to a popular celebrity. Back then it was Dr. Fauci. Now you're appealing to Trump. It just seems to be a recurring cycle.
Oh, come on, dude. How are you gonna compare Trump and Fauci? No,
Because both flat earthers are the ones who made that appeal to a celebrity. We did not. Flat earthers did in both of these debates.
okay. So now you steered it in that way. I think once again, what you see, even though you can like explain it away, is still another counterintuitive thing. Like,
Okay,
oh, it
but
looks like it's going
just going
down,
to
but
point
really
out the
going up.
fact. Can I
That's
speak?
fine. Now let's move on. What I wanted to bring up.
Can I
So, do you
speak?
guys believe in the
Okay,
big boom?
am I allowed to speak?
Yeah, both of you speak.
Okay, to answer a previous topic, since you're trying to run from that as fast as you can, what I was saying is the perspective and other issues you're pointing out are all bust when you add in the fact that there are multiple observers to rocket launches. Just because it looks like it's going over the horizon, the fact is rocket launches can and have been seen up to 2,000 miles away from their launch site. More importantly, again, going to another great person, Astronomy Live has recorded Starship launches from Florida when they launched in Texas. That's almost just under 1,000 miles away, and he still sees them not falling into the ocean, not hitting anything. In fact, when a starship exploded and flat earthers clamored to say, oh, it hit the firmament, he actually was the only person to track the nose cone, which was intact. If it was the first thing to hit the firmament, it would have been crushed. So no, it seems to be curving. No, that's it is trying to enter orbit, and it still is being seen and observed over 2,000 miles away from their launch site. So if it was falling back into the ocean, it wouldn't have made it that far.
I mean, I know what you're trying to say, and I disagree with it, but it's just one of those things where we're not going to be able to settle that difference right now, in my opinion.
Well, that's not really something you have to
Again,
address
it's
because it's
just a
not
matter
seen.
that everything you want people,
Because it's
you
observable, it's convoluted.
no,
Once
it's not
again,
about that.
because it's observed, it's
I can
convoluted and you
look.
can't
I
believe
can
it. I
understand
see.
if you have a model. If you have like a field where a lot of things are observable, and then like a couple of things are like
Except it
counterintuitive.
is observable. I just pointed
Hold
that
on,
out
hold
that
on.
people have observed it.
Okay, but I haven't said. So I can understand there's a field, not astronomy, just a field where a lot of things are intuitive, and then a couple of things may be counterintuitive. But where your entire field is surrounded by counterintuitive thing and nothing is just intuitive, nothing is just observable, a simple sight. That should
You
be
mean the things
really
that
like,
are observable?
huh?
You mean the things that are observable, like we've
Sun rays,
explained throughout
parallel
this
sun rays
debate?
are not observable. The back of the the other face of the moon is not observable.
All right, then explain why you can't see the back of the moon on the flat
Or
Earth. Again,
anywhere in
you were just
nature
straw manning.
where collisions and stuff, and then he just orbits in a
Collisions have been
in a
observed.
flat plane is not observable.
Again,
Or
your issues are all stemming from you refusing to go outside. I know that you love your phone, but that does not mean that your inability to look disapproves anything. Your
I
argument is again
showed you
from
pictures
incredulity.
of divergent sun rays, and you don't have to look up my pictures. Just Google them. Just type parallel.
Okay, then don't look up my photos. Go and look at photos of lunar libration for
I
yourself.
did look it up when you brought it up, and I don't know if you looked
And
up any.
then where
I
was
brought
your
up.
flat Earth
I did look it up,
explanation?
and again, all of them are either. I said they're either the face of the moon or they're diagrams and like cartoons. There's no
So
any
my work is going to be a
any
cartoon?
field doesn't answer the question about the back of the moon.
Yes, and then I followed that up by asking, where's the back of the moon on flat Earth? Because it's a straw man, and you damn well know it.
Well, I would unfortunately have to plead the fifth there because again, I'm just it's not like
Continue to run.
I took many years of physics studying the globe Earth. or not studying, but you know what I mean. Like you took physics in high school, then in college and stuff like that.
Did you say YouTube physics?
Huh?
Did you say YouTube physics?
Many years of physics.
Okay.
Years of physics. But hold on, I lost my train. Okay, look, let's just pause this one. I'm writing notes on some things like the lunar aberration, the launch thing, and I'll find like clear-cut ways to disprove it instead of just me trying to like wing it right here. But let me ask you, do you believe in the Big Boom?
The Big Bang is a hypothesis in physics. It is not an accepted fact. So please do not appeal to, just hypothesize theories that are
Okay,
not
so
scientific facts.
okay. So you think God created the universe, but there's no like scientific explanation as to how. Is that your position?
That is something we are researching. Just because we do not understand something does not mean it does not exist. We do not know the origin of diseases and viruses, but that does not mean that they do not exist.
So what is there another alternative to the Big Boom?
The fact is we're still learning, and more importantly, there are plenty of creationist explanations. In fact, I had a conversation with a priest several long years ago, where he actually pointed out that when the Big Bang was proposed, it actually caused some controversy with physicists because it actually sounded quite similar to the idea of God speaking the universe into existence. Kind of a Big Bang. So, the fact is, the Big Bang, most importantly, does not change or alter the shape of the Earth. It's just a hypothesis for where things came from, at this point in time. Earth's shape is irrelevant to that. Earth could be a cube. The Big Bang does not change that.
What about this?
I cannot read that.
Oh shoot! How do I hold on? Is there a way that I can like invert it?
Just read it.
Could you please just get on the fucking computer and screen share, please? That would make life so much easier for everybody. Do you not have any of these memes saved on your computer?
No, I don't have any. I just
that sounded like a missed opportunity.
I'm going to pull out my laptop.
Give me a second. But you know what?
Both of you should get your shit together, honestly.
Look, first of all, you just said you debate another flat earther. This is my first debate ever in terms of like streaming, and I'll be more ready for the next time. But you know what? I still think, can I not like mirror this just on the iPhone? Like, is there not like a simple way to do that?
Can you just read it out loud? I don't.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I'll just read it. So, but I'll read it as I'm showing
it. Stuff.
So it says osmium, OS, the densest material in the universe. 1 4-inch cube would weigh little over 48 pounds. So that was the top. And then here's densest material in the universe. That's a chemical symbol. Then here's 1 troy ounce, 99.95% pure, is almost $1,000 back then. Then by the inflation. And then it says there's no way to shrink the 4-inch cube to a pea-sized quantity. So much for infinite density.
That is quite literally just, saying something and, assuming it's correct. It's called an ipse dixit. The fact is our ability to compress matter 1,000 years ago are infinitely much weaker than what we can do now. Now we can compress matter so intensely that we can cause matter to quite literally explode. See atomic bombs. But even if you want to ignore that, just consider hydraulic presses. Do you really think anything 1,000 years ago can match a hydraulic press?
Mind that was born after the atomic bombs and stuff like that. Where do I go observe the atomic bomb?
Just ask the Japanese; they'll tell you all about it.
See, but there it is. There's another. Oh, just believe it by faith. You can't see it, you can't observe it, but that
you do realize that nuclear power is a fundamental part of reality. In fact, it's almost certainly a nuclear power source is sitting in your house right now. In fact, I can name probably two nuclear devices that exist in your house right now.
Which are what?
One, your smoke detector. Quiet.
No, sorry, it's just this little guest comes interrupting a little bit. Smoke detector. Okay, what's the other one?
Your microwave also emits a form of intense radiation.
Well, I don't have a microwave, but threw
You
it
know, if you
away.
have a smoke detector, there's probably a 75% chance that it is an ionization smoke detector. They are the most common. And ionization smoke detectors all have a tiny, minute amount of americium or American, whatever you want to call it.
And
That is a nuclear isotope. It is quite literally radioactive. And it's fundamental to the principle because what it does is it ionizes the gas particles. And if those particles, when smoke is detected, that breaks, the train of energy between the two detectors and it sets off the alarm. If it did not work and there was no ionization, then the smoke detector fundamentally would not work.
okay, hold on. All right, so I'll add nuclear power and smoke detectors to the list. Smoke. And hopefully you'll explain, you'll add Big Boom to your list, or so do you at least agree that there's plenty of claims that are completely unobservable?
Yeah, there are certainly claims that you have said are unobservable, but can either be measured or observed.
So to you, the Big Boom is observable?
There are physicists that, that is what we call background radiation. It was quite literally detected by
And there's also a lot of doctors that said take the vaccine and 3 boosters. So did you
and
take
that's
them?
and that's called a deflection from the shape of the Earth.
No, it's
Or at
not. It's
most that's,
called that
called.
you are basically making an argument of somebody else's authority, like, oh, some high level physicist said that, so therefore, okay, but
So you're saying that you can't use a radio observatory to, measure background radiation. It's the fact that they couldn't
I'm
find,
saying that you cannot observe
no
the Big Boom.
radiation. They were
Big
always
Boom,
detecting something.
Big Boom cannot be observed.
Yeah, and
And
I
well, you know
can't
what?
observe somebody being
Here's no,
shot
no, no,
after
no.
they're shot.
Here's an easier one.
You're trying to make a straw man that isn't there.
Here's an easier one for you guys to visualize. So the point about the Big Boom is all the plant. There's an evolution of elements, and now we have gold and silver and all these metals. And basically, out of this puddle of elements, billions and billions of years ago, these elements like self-designed into an amoeba that somehow started like replicating itself, and not only replicating itself, but like making clones of itself into like more complex beings. So one unicellular organism gave birth to a two-cellular organism, and three and four and five, and then now we have.
Plain. Quick question.
Okay.
Do you by any chance know what a carboxymethylthiopyrimidine is?
No, but is that related to what I'm talking about?
Then if you don't know what a carboxymethylthiopyrimidine is, then shut the fuck up about abiogenesis. Anyway, moving on. Back to the shape of the Earth, please.
Wait. Why are you running away? You just said like again, argument authority. Like you said a long word, and then you just don't want to talk about the topic.
That is literally not an appeal to authority.
Yeah, you're saying, oh, you don't know what this big word is. Okay, let's move on. I mean, why
I'm
don't you
trying to get
explain
us
it for the
back to the
audience?
shape of the Earth, my guy. You're trying to have a conversation about abiogenesis. That's not
Yes,
what we're here to discuss.
yeah, because
We're here to
see,
discuss flat Earth
they're
and
lined
space.
up. No. They are lined up though. You
They
have
do.
two.
They are two different things. One is about the origin of life. The other is geometry and physics.
Yes,
Stick to
I agree.
geometry and physics, please.
I agree, but there is one reality, right? And for example, I can tell you linearly, the Bible says God created the earth, God created humans, and it just goes everything in a straight line. You
Cool.
think that there's
Now
like a
let's
big
discuss
boom,
whether or not God made
then
the
a
Earth round or not.
biogenesis, then we're here, right? So that's the line. That's the line that you believe is reality. So yes, if you globe Earth is very much tied to a biogenesis. There's unless you're gonna claim that we're living globe Earth, but then Adam and Eve. Like, how do you, what's your alternative to that?
If you want to believe that the sons and daughters of Adam and Eve fucked each other and then had incest and made you, then by all means believe that. This is irrelevant to the shape of the earth. Here's the thing: Adam and Eve could fuck on a flat earth. They could also fuck and make babies on a globe. So let's discuss flat earth versus globe, please.
Okay. So we were saying that you think the big boom is observable. I disagree. I think the average person watching this has no way of observing that. Now you can say the magic phrase. Some physicists in Switzerland can observe it, but again, it's just for the
I
average
didn't
person.
say that.
No, I know you didn't. I'm saying like you could say that, but for the average person, they just have to believe it by faith, just because a scientist over there says it. You know that they're, but they can't observe it. And the few things that they can observe, they all just seem to happen counterintuitive. But there's some like long-winded explanation at how is what it not seem. Oh no, it's not going down. It's just that if you look at it, it's looking up, and everything is some long-winded stuff. Nothing is just straightforward, simple. The apple falls, doesn't fall far from the tree. It's all some long-winded stuff, counterintuitive. Some are unobserved.
You mean, because the Bible isn't long-winded at almost 1,000 pages, depending on your translation. Yeah.
Genesis
the opposite is
a
title
few
lock
pages.
2 words.
Genesis is a few pages, and that's talking about the shape of the earth and the
So
globe.
you only use Genesis. You're never going to appeal to any other book.
Say that again.
So your entire argument consists of just one text of the Bible. It will never, ever appeal to any other text in the Bible. You'll never mention, Matthew. You'll never mention, Pythians. You'll never mention Psalms. Or
no,
you
yeah,
actually
I have.
So
No, don't
you
worry
do
about it.
include the entire 1,000. Okay, so you do
No.
include the entire 1,000-page Bible.
Okay,
depending on
fine.
translation.
Well, but he's saying the same thing though. So,
Meanwhile, you're having complaint with 2 words.
Psalms 93:1 says that the earth does not move. So yeah, I was saying.
And yet, even flat earthers measured Earth's rotation.
I mean, that's that's just so now they're not flat earthers, right?
No, I just said that flat earthers measured Earth's rotation. That is quite literally a recorded fact. You can go and
Okay,
watch
so
it.
how do they measure it? I haven't heard
Using
of
a
it.
gyroscope, a laser ring gyroscope.
Oh, okay. You know what? That reminds me of another good one. Which
If you're about
experiment
to appeal
shows?
to Aether, no,
Which
that doesn't
experiment
work.
shows? See, look, I'm a scientific method guy. Just show me the observation. Which experiment shows that the Earth spins?
Measuring it with a gyroscope, and you can use different types of gyroscopes to get the same result.
So, okay, you know what? I thought you were gonna say Foucault's pendulum, but let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, it's because you guys like to appeal to something that you don't understand.
Oh no, don't
I
worry.
like to break
I'll
it down to
tackle it
something
that
you
angle.
can't
No
argue
problem at
with.
all. No problem at all. Okay, so yeah. Okay, I get it. So you think that a gyroscope, which I wish you would share the picture or whatever, measures
I'm trying to
the
pull up my
spin.
laptop.
Okay, yeah. If you could do me a favor, if you can show that picture while I talk about this, that will be the perfect contrast for you guys to itch a little bit more of your cognitive dissonance. If a gyroscope can measure the Earth's spin, how come a helicopter doesn't have to just hover over in place for hours to arrive to its destination?
Why don't you hit the back of a plane when you jump? When it's in
I
flight?
ask see you.
That is the answer. You quite literally do not understand relative motion.
And you can't
The answer is relative motion, and that's why you don't hit the back of a plane. You are not understanding that you
No,
travel
that's
with
not-
the Earth's rotation.
that's not
Okay,
true.
fine. Let me ask this. What stops you? What force? You do not change your speed. You do not change, your rate of travel. Spontaneously. There has to be some force. What force is going to act on that helicopter to move it? Be specific.
It's not that the helicopter will move. It's
What
that
force?
it's not that
What
the helicopter.
force?
Sir, I'm answering your question.
So you can't specify a
No,
force
you
that
haven't let
moves
me
the
answer.
helicopter.
I said 2 words and you didn't let me finish.
Same.
It's not that the helicopter is moving, it's that the Earth underneath it is.
So why does it suddenly lose all the speed it had when it was on the Earth? Explain what force just stopped it.
Okay, so there's a couple things. If you're going down the highway on a truck, right, and you have a tennis ball and you're going 70 miles per hour, and then you throw the tennis ball out the window, it will initially go.
So you're saying that it's drag, but how is there drag when its relative speed relative to the wind is 0? You're trying to argue something that isn't in play, because if it has 0 ground speed, that means it has no drag occurred because it is stationary relative to the surface.
So okay, so basically, okay, here. So you didn't say this, but this is what you're alluding to. Are you arguing that the atmosphere also spins at 1100 miles per hour, right?
It is traveling at the same rate. However, the exact speed depends on your location. That's why jet streams exist and, atmospheric gyres.
So, like for example, when there's
By the way,
hurricane.
you asked for the image of the gyroscope. I'm showing it, so there you go.
Okay,
I'm
so
working on it. Thank you.
so that can measure.
No, I'm all. It's already up, Mike. Is what I'm trying to say.
So that so that can measure the spin of the Earth, but if a helicopter is hovering over the Earth, but the helicopter won't show any spin, like it won't have any relative motion to the Earth. Is that what you contend?
I said that it is rotating with the Earth, and you have not specified what force would stop it from doing so.
Okay,
You just say it should change. You just say it should be moving because your Earth is moving, but you forget the fact that it was already moving. It just went from moving with the Earth to not moving, and you haven't explained that disconnect. What stopped it? What made it go from rotating with the Earth on the ground to suddenly not?
okay,
There's some
so if
change
I'm
there
going
that you
70 miles
cannot
per
explain.
hour and I throw this out the window, it's suddenly not moving with a
Again,
fixed
you're
velocity.
going to drag. There's no drag when its airspeed is 0. You seriously,
Wait.
stick your
No,
head
but
outside of stick your head outside of that stationary hovering helicopter. What do you think the airspeed is going to be? 60 miles an hour, or do you wager it's going to be closer to 0?
okay, so you think that the Earth is spinning at 1100 miles
That
per
is what's
hour,
measured. Yes.
and then you think that the air is also spinning at 1100 miles per hour with it, right?
What would stop it from doing so? Again, you have a
Why
lot of
don't you
questions,
just
but you don't
always
seem to
look?
address what's
See,
stopping
here's
it.
another thing: you never can answer yes or no. You have this rhetorical question
Because these are trick
almost every time.
questions. You're trying to
Just say yes.
gotcha into a question. I'm not
No,
following your
I'm
gotchas.
trying. See, I'm trying to go here, but you get stumped.
Yes, you were
It's
trying
like
to. It's called a leading question. It is quite literally a
exactly. I'm trying.
fundamental part. Oh, so you admit to a leading question.
No,
That
but
is
I'm trying to
quite
lead you to my
dishonest.
point, but you won't even you're like answer
I'm
rhetorical
not
questions,
following your
basic
lead.
stuff.
No, I'm not
Okay,
following your lead.
you
I'm
know
going
what?
to
Fine.
answer.
I'm
I'm
gonna
going to
I'm
answer
gonna
correctly.
okay. I'm gonna bring it up a little bit more complicated. You guys were saying, "Oh, why don't you hit the back of an airplane?" And that's because when you're going in linear motion, you can have acceleration, you can have velocity, right? You accelerate once you're at constant velocity, then there's no acceleration, there's no force acting upon the object. When you're talking with circular motion, there is always acceleration. You cannot have circular motion without acceleration because
And how much acceleration would that be, given the fact that it takes 24 hours for the Earth to complete one rotation?
no.
You're
Hold
going
on,
to
wait.
say 1,000
I'm
miles an
not going
hour,
that route.
but 1,000 miles an hour
Stop.
is linear speed. We do not use that for angular speed. Angular
So
speed, it is 0 point, I can't remember the exact number, half a dozen zeros, and it ends in either on a 4, 8, I can't remember. Point is, it's exceptionally small, and you're trying to say, oh, but this acceleration due to rotation. Yeah, but have you done the math? Have you actually checked to see
But
how
okay, so
much that
I
force
guess the
would be?
question boils down to why is the Earth? I mean, not the Earth. Sorry, why is the atmosphere spinning at? By the way, here's
Why
another
wouldn't it
problem.
be?
But why is
And
why
Mike, this is for you. It's
why is the
zero.
atmosphere spinning at
Hang
11
on, hang
miles
on,
per hour?
hang on. For Mike, this is for you, Mike. The answer is 0.000694 revolutions per minute. 0.000694.
Okay, but you're talking
Thank
about
you.
is that
You're
revolutions of the
welcome.
Earth?
Yes, that is the RPM, as you would say, of the Earth, because RPM is an angular rotation measurement, not linear. That's the problem. Is that whenever somebody tries to Brett here might be able to speak on this, but when you measure your speedometer in your car or you try to measure the speed of your tires, you use an angular measurement, not linear.
So, I mean, where I see here, hold on. So there's angular velocity. and they definitely factor the radius of said sphere or circle. So the radius is factor into sphere. But so just answer me with a why or how. How is, according to you, the atmosphere spinning with, the Earth is, according to you, the Earth is spinning 1100 miles per hour, and the atmosphere is also spinning 1100 miles per hour with it, right? So how does that air, what's keeping the air attached to the ball? Like, why are they spinning at the same rate?
If only there was a word starting with G that explained it, that you flat earthers just
So okay,
refuse to
gravity. So you're gonna
comprehend.
say, but that doesn't really explain it. Gravity is why you're attracted like
Why
this.
you just asked why it stays stuck to the ball? I gave you the
No, I
answer.
didn't ask that. See, you're like selective listening
Actually,
again.
this is going to be caught on
I
video. You
asked
literally
you
asked whether it
why.
was
No,
stuck
I
to the
didn't ask
ball.
you why the air is like compressed. I asked you why the air spins. Why is it not just the compressed air and the ball spinning
Again,
by
because
itself?
the Earth is spinning. Why would it not be following the Earth's rotation?
Oh, I'm asking you which force is acting up on the air, and you're saying gravity, but that doesn't make sense because gravity attracts
Well,
you.
that's what's
Gravity
keeping it
doesn't make you
to the
spin.
ball. What keeps it rotating? There's nothing stopping it, so it will follow, the existing rotation. You are trying to argue again. You are asking this question. The better question is, why wouldn't it follow? The
Hang
logical is
on,
that it's going to
Big
follow.
Mike, Big Mike. Let me hop in here for a second. I'm sorry, I just can't resist. Plane. Here's an answer to that question for you. If you had, a record turntable, right?
Yes.
Okay. If you have a glass and you put that glass in the middle of the turntable and you fill that glass with water and you spin that turntable, is only the glass going to be rotating, or will the water in the glass eventually start rotating with it?
Water in the glass rotates.
Yes, and the
That's not a
reason why
direct answer.
that
You know a little
happens
bit
is
about that too.
because then the reason why that happens is because there's friction between the water and the glass.
Okay, great.
There is
That's
also
what I was. See,
there
there
is also
was it that
there is
hard? All
also
my questions.
there is also friction between the air and the earth. There you
Okay,
go. Big
so
Mike, take it away.
but you're okay. So now what you're basically alluding to is that the Earth was spinning, and it eventually attracted all the air, and through friction only at the surface, it like there's gradients of like speed. So basically, like just the solid Earth brought all the air, and I guess you're gonna say that um the
Seeing your
the
brain short circuit in real time is
no, because
like
I'm trying to like see it from your point of
somewhat
view, which I
entertaining.
already deprogrammed myself, so I gotta like hop back into the matrix and like explain it your way.
Well, maybe consider asking questions instead of trying
Maybe
I'm
to
the only one that,
consider
hey,
pontificate
hey,
and
hopping
hey,
out of
the
the
doggy.
whole
matrix
2 hours,
sometimes.
I'm the only one that can answer direct questions. I'm sorry about
But
that.
Plane, have you
You
ever
have all
considered
rhetorical like gotchas. You can't
Plane,
answer yes
have
or
you
no
ever considered stepping out of the matrix and touching some fucking grass?
every day. Touch grass every day.
Try it sometime. The
Anyways,
air
it's time to
outside
turn
is
to the text.
fresh.
So now,
Get some sun on your
so
skin.
in your model, see, you haven't even gotten to my point yet. In your model, on the edge of the atmosphere, is that going faster than the air by the Earth, or is that going the same speed, or is that going slower because of drag? Does it lose momentum? Like on your point of view, the air is spinning. The air right at the surface is spinning at a certain velocity, whatever you want to say, and then what is that velocity compared to the other? Is one of them slower? Are they the same? What do you think?
The speed of high altitude wind currents vary throughout the year and solar activity, as well as its
Varies
latitude.
throughout the year. Hold on, pause. You were just saying that it was by the Earth's spin. So now are you going to also
I was
claim that the
talking
Earth
about
spin?
high altitude. High altitude currents
Does
are
the
not
Earth
the
spin
same as
vary
the
by
air
year too?
on the surface. Those are
Does
not
the
the
Earth
same.
spin? Does the Earth spin like speed or spin vary by year too?
Did I say that? Did I say that it
I
changed?
haven't said you said that. I'm asking you a direct question. Does it?
It does
Yes
not
or no?
change. Now, what is your point?
Okay, so see, now here's another conflict that we just is this easy. If you
No,
just
you're just saying there's a conflict.
okay, let me point it out. So you're saying here's the Earth, and you're saying that the air around it is dragging along with the Earth, and that's why the helicopter just hovers. But then you're saying that the Earth goes always at the same speed, but the atmosphere goes at different speeds. Reconcile.
So the helicopter is at 150,000 feet? Because I did not say, I literally just said about 30 seconds ago that
Forget the
high altitude
helicopter.
wind currents are not
Reconcile.
the same. There's almost always a wind current at 150,000 feet. It never stops. Meanwhile, I can go outside right now. The wind speed is about 1 mile an hour, sometimes zero. It is not the same. You are trying
So
to, you're trying to make a correlation that is not there.
okay, so when you say 1 mile per hour, if you're
It means
being
almost no wind speed.
hold on, you no, you means almost no from your model. It means almost no wind speed compared to the Earth, which means that if the Earth is rotating 1,100 miles per hour, 1 mile per hour is 1,100 1 mile per hour. That's what you believe, correct?
So there's absolutely no force that could potentially cause, air to move, not pressure, not heat, not, the
Not
mechanical
friction,
moving of like trees or,
not friction.
gas
You, okay, see,
geysers.
another contradiction right there. You just say there's no force that can cause air to move, but then you're saying the atmosphere moves because of friction. Another
Where did
contradiction.
I say that nothing makes the earth move? What are you even
No,
implying
you
by that?
nothing
You're just
makes
saying
the
the earth,
air
nothing
move.
makes the earth move.
Air. You just said nothing makes the air move, and you started listing all the things that don't make
When
the.
did did I say that? Did I say that nothing makes the air move? I want to double check.
I did not hear that. No.
So well, okay. So
Okay.
repeat what you were saying.
So again, gravity holds it down to the
No,
surface.
no, no, no. You're not repeating. You're changing. What were you saying? Repeat. Maybe I misheard.
What I
Repeat
was
the same
saying
thing.
is that to get the 1 mile an hour speed change, things like pressure changes, mechanical motion such as trees or humans or gas geysers,
You're
those
not
can
repeating what you said.
create wind,
You're talking something completely different. Repeat
because you're
exactly
talking
what
about
you
something
told me that
completely
I
different.
misheard.
You're trying to appeal to 150,000 mile an hour or 150,000 foot wind currents at the edge of the atmosphere when you're talking about a helicopter 5 feet above the ground. You're making, again, correlation
No,
that does not
again,
exist.
you're selective listening. I asked you if the Earth rotates at 1,100 miles per. Let's just use 1,000. Okay, if the Earth rotates 1,000 miles per hour, and you claim that the air right here is going 1,000 miles per hour too because of friction, I'm asking just out of wondering, like, what's the air that's right here? So not right here. The air that's right here. Forget about the helicopter. Is that going at 11? Is that going at 1099? Or sorry, is that going at 1,000? Is that going at 999? Is that going at 998? What is that? What is the
Depends on
speed
its
here?
direction. It depends on
You
what
said
it's
you said that
doing.
this varies by year, which already is a contradiction. You're saying this spins at 1,000.
Actually,
This
it
spins
quite
at 1,000
clearly
because of
can.
drag, and
It's
this one
quite
varies by year.
measurable.
That's already a contradiction.
Wow, incredible! Hurricanes are a contradiction according to you.
You're changing the topic.
Nope, that's
Reconcile
quite
what I
literally a
just said
change
right
of
here.
wind speed. What wind speed do hurricanes get up to? What are their wind speed?
Where hurricanes are
Oh,
like,
there's a short circuit.
no, there's not. I'm talking about on a day-to-day basis. You're talking about like the one singular event on a day-to-day basis.
So there's
This
no
spins at
wind day to
1,000. Don't
day.
ask me a
Damn.
question. This spins at 1,000. This spins at 1,000 right here, according to you, because
And
of
I
drag.
said it
And
depends
this
on
spins at what?
its direction. It depends on its location. And more importantly, it's still traveling with the Earth. It's just that its relative speed to the surface, one spot on the ground. That's where it changed. That's why there is a difference. That's why airspeed and ground speed are two different measurements in aviation. If you try to fly entirely on airspeed, you will very likely end up landing at anywhere from 30 to 40 miles an hour depending on local conditions, which change day by day, which is why
Oh wait, hold on. Let me
airline
ask you
pilots
something.
shut up. That's
Sorry.
why airline pilots must listen to and get local weather reports before and during flight, because again, the airspeed will not be the same as ground speed. Ground speed is when your wheels are always zero. You can have a zero airspeed. You can have a, let me rephrase that. You can have like a 200 mile an hour wind speed, but a zero ground speed. You can have zero and have a 201. Meanwhile, you can have a 200 mile an hour ground speed and have zero airspeed if you have a headwind equal to your ground speed.
It's a complex system, is what you're trying to say, Big Mike.
Complex.
Yeah, this
Don't worry
went
about
right
it.
over
Don't
him.
think about it, guys. Don't try to observe it. Just only the scientists know. Don't listen to your senses. There's an explanation for everything. But let me ask you something. Is this recorded?
So your senses can tell the difference between ground speed and airspeed?
Is this recorded? Or is this gonna like
Yep.
go away as soon as we like stop?
Nope. It is recorded. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So I hope, and no editing, right?
Nope. Everyone saw this live.
Okay, great. So, well, no, I know the live, but I'm saying like, it's just. Hold on.
Get to the point.
Yeah, no, I just wrote down where, in my opinion, you contradicted yourself. You said there's no force that can move air, and then I call you
didn't
out.
say
And you're like,
that.
oh, I didn't say, and then you didn't dare repeating what you were saying that I misheard.
So
So
you're quite literally making up a quote that I did not say.
no,
Just to
maybe I
argue
misheard it, but
against
I
it. That
just
is
know the time
literally a
where I
straw man.
misheard, so I can go back and then listen to it.
I
And
would recommend going back.
you said what?
I said I would recommend going back.
Oh yeah, I can use YouTube. Hold on. So well,
No, do that after we're done here.
all right, that's fine. Yeah, you're right. All right, so since I'm the one picking most topics, I guess you guys gracious enough to let me pick.
I also don't want to torture you, Red, so I'm going to try and wrap this up around 11:30, 11:40.
That's fine.
Sounds good.
What about this? How do you reconcile? This is observable. We agree. This is not observable to me.
To you, but more importantly, the bigger problem is you also don't go outside. The fact
you've observed
let me
this?
finish. Let me finish. Astronomy Live has recorded. In fact, his newest video actually, recorded, movement of a star, but he's also, recorded the orbital motion of planets. So just because you haven't seen it does not mean it doesn't exist, especially when your extent of looking is, oh, I looked out my plane window. That's not evidence.
It's not just that. I don't need to.
Then where's your telescope observation?
I don't need a special telescope to see that I can't.
Who said you need a special one? You can quite literally just need to have a telescope, and you need to make
no. I don't even need a telescope.
Metric measurements every day or every year.
Is the telescope going to show me parallel sun rays?
That's a deflection from what you just pointed to on your phone.
No. Is the telescope going to show me parallel sun rays?
Because I'll tell you what telescope we'll show you.
You're always inside. I'm telling you, I've observed stuff with my own eyes.
A telescope can show you that the sun is actually 93 million miles away.
I wonder if you have a video.
But that's not what I asked. I asked you if the telescope can show me parallel sun rays.
And it can also show you that the angular size of the sun does not change throughout the day.
I thought you did that with your P1000. P1000.
Yes or no, but it's all
right.
It
can be done with both.
Fair.
So what about like this one?
Do you have anything other than memes by any chance?
Well, I mean, it's just like you guys obviously do selective listening. So why would I explain you some like complex thing?
Because a meme isn't selective listening. That's already actually let me rephrase that. A meme is
here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do, Plain.
Here's the thing.
Here's what I'm going to do. Just for you, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do you a big favor, Plain. Big favor. I'm going to accept, for the sake of argument, that the Earth is not moving. Let's say that it is completely stationary. Now tell me, given that I've given that to you on a silver platter, tell me how you know for a fact that the Earth is flat.
Okay, so number one, I have never seen the curvature. That's
not evidence. That's just something you haven't
seen.
Wait,
hold on. Why are you already like triggering number one?
Because you're not answering my question. What I asked for is something that demonstrates that the Earth is flat. I don't want to hear about what you haven't seen. I want to hear about what you have seen that does demonstrate that the Earth is flat.
Because you have the attention span, and that's fine. This says water in a glass, water in a lake, water in the ocean, water in the beach, and then water in the classroom.
Yeah, I'll get back to you. I'm going to get back to you on that. Let me finish.
Is that the best you got?
Huh?
I would also like to point out that Astronomy Live has a footage of a Falcon 9 landing, about 18 miles offshore. Ooh, and the ocean happens to obscure like 60 feet of that booster. So
yeah,
he's going to have to explain that.
I have my picture of the Tampa Bay skyline, and half the towers are missing. So can you explain that?
Sorry, can you repeat?
So I took a picture of the Tampa Bay skyline from 24 miles away. Half the towers are obscured by the horizon, and in between me and that skyline is water. So can you explain that to me on your flat Earth? Because if the Earth was really flat, I should be able to see the bottom of those towers.
No, I think that actually, if you use a more extreme case, that actually proves my point. If you,
how does that in any way, shape, or form prove your point?
If you get farther, because whether the Earth is flat or curved, you don't have an infinite field of vision. I know that
I wasn't using my eyes. I was using a telescope, and I had more than enough angular size to work with.
Okay, so I'm gonna just use one of your tactics, and then I'm gonna flip it on you. So if you type world record longest sight line,
And
Don't
I
right?
try
will
to
ask
change.
you.
Don't
I
try
will
to
counter
don't
You know,
try
you.
to
you know
twist
what it
this
is?
around. I asked you a question.
Yeah, and
Why
I'm
is it that I
again.
cannot see the bottom of those towers from across the Tampa Bay sky, from
I
across
don't
Tampa
show me a
Bay?
picture, but I'm grabbing your principle that you're alluding to, and I'm stretching it to the absolute max, so it becomes easier to comprehend for all sizes or
I
sides.
think
Sorry.
I think my question is very easy to comprehend. I
Okay,
took a
so
picture from
so
24
then
miles
let me go to
away.
the extreme.
I
If your
should be
question
able to
is
see the towers in full. I'm not seeing the
again,
towers in full.
you
Why?
asking me and the entire audience to believe you just at your word, right?
No,
But
they've seen it.
but
They
it, this
they're
is
they follow me on social media.
okay.
They've
So
seen the
this is something
photos.
they can see too. If they just search world record line of sight.
Okay, since you want to appeal to that, you also need to provide viewer elevation. You also need to provide, the height of the target. You need to provide the distance, and on top of that, you also need to provide temperature, humidity, and for bonus points, provide the angle to the
There
target.
it is again. The high complex. There, nothing is simple. Nothing is that it seems. Everything is a very complicated matrix of like.
I'm
Don't believe
sorry,
your
that
eyes.
reality is not 1, 2, 3, 4.
It,
Were you seriously trying to deny the existence of, refraction and mirages? Because
no, I'm
as
not.
someone
See,
living in
mirage.
Florida, I see them all
There
the
it is.
damn time.
There's a little safe space word. The mirage. Oh, why can you see a city 100 miles away
So
over
I'm
the
just
lake?
going
Oh, it's
to
just a mirage. Even there
accept,
should be
Blaine, that you do
like.
not have an answer to my question.
It
That's
is not.
fine.
Show me the picture first. I mean, to be honest, I didn't want to call you out, but
If you
since you
don't
insist,
have an
I am
answer,
skeptical of
Blaine,
your
the
picture. I'm
correct way to
skeptical.
respond to that is I don't know. It's okay for you to say
No,
I
the
don't
answer
know.
is you're asking me to believe you, even though I just met you. Like, how am I gonna make an argument just trusting that you're
Big
right
Mike,
when
do
I
you
don't
have
even?
that picture on your social by any chance?
Me, I do. I'm trying to. I'll send it. Actually, no. I'll just send it to his DM, so he has no excuse.
Yeah, please send it to DMs and then you can see it. But let's assume for the sake of argument, Plain, that I'm not entirely full of shit when I say I took a picture of the skyline. Half the towers were missing behind the horizon. Why?
You mean the bottom half, right?
The bottom half, correct. Why can I not see them? Why are they obscured by the water?
Okay, so that's basically the same problem as why do the ships disappear over the horizon, right?
No, it is not.
It's the same principle, yes. So
Yeah.
why
Okay.
can I not see the bottom of those towers?
Okay. So great. So because it's the same principle, let's use a boat because the boat you can stretch it way farther out. So what is the farthest line of sight that a boat can see a lighthouse? See that gets rid of all the like independent variables, and it just isolates your principle with way less gray area. So if you go straight to sea level, and you isolate what's the longest a lighthouse, which you can factor trigonometry and shit, but it's always gonna be like 100 feet. It's not something crazy. You can factor the lighthouse and how far the world record, like, the I
I
don't know, the
can't help but
lighthouse with
notice
the
you're not answering my
biggest reach
question.
or whatever.
I can't help but notice you're not answering my question. Why can I not see the bottom of those towers?
I already answered you. I told you I'm skeptical of the framing of your question, and I, in good faith, grabbed your principle and made it to something that's easier to research, easier to visualize, easier to test.
Okay, so you don't have an answer. That's fine. That's fine. I'll accept that.
All right, that's fine. So I don't have an answer for that. If that's what you want to hear,
You do not have an answer for that, it seems.
yeah.
And
If that's what you want to hear, then forget about the boat and the lighthouse. But I'm gonna look up the lighthouse anyways.
yeah, look it up. Let me know when you come up with an actual explanation. Anyway, Mike, go ahead and ask whatever final questions you want to ask.
Yeah, let's just wrap it back around to the fact I don't want to deflect to air. I don't want to deflect to helicopters. Let's just wrap it up simple. The Earth is measured to be rotating. Anyone with a gyroscope can measure that. Can you please address that? Don't deflect to helicopters. It's again, even flat earthers have measured it. So please address that whenever you go about and you say Earth is stationary. It measurably is not.
Hold on, I'm looking up the lighthouse thing. Yeah, you want to move on from topics before it's like closed.
I think what we need to do is have a part 2 to this conversation. So here's what I think we should do. Big Mike and Plain, you guys talk about whatever you want on Twitter. And what I'm going to suggest we do is we set up another date in the future to have this conversation. And we should talk about a few things in particular. One of the things I'm going to suggest is why I can't see the bottom of those towers. Big Mike, you come up with a few things. Plain, you come up with a few things. Both of you agree on a date to get back here, and we'll do this again. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
All right, Big Mike, does that sound like a plan to you?
Absolutely.
Good. So here's how this is going to work. This stream has been recorded, so be sure to click like, subscribe, all that shit if you want. And it will be available now until the end of time. And we will do this again. Big Mike, I expect you to keep me in the loop on when you want to have the second part of this conversation, okay?
All righty, will do.
Okay, cool. We're going to go ahead and end this here. Have a good night, people, and I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.
All right, you guys have a good night.